Hello and welcome to WNHH Radio's Dateline New Haven. I'm your host, Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make the Elm City tick. Craig Miller has been making New Haven tick for 20 years as a police patrol officer, as president of the police union. Now, like a whole lot of New Haven cops, we might even call it a stampede at this point, he's retiring and moving on. In his case, to a new police post in North Branford. Florencio Cotto is stepping up. He's taking Craig's place at the helm of the New Haven Police Union. And we know how everybody needs unions these days, and these guys are right in the thick of it. Well, officers Miller and Cotto have come into the studio to tell us all about that. Welcome to WNHH FM, guys, and thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, sir.
And good job. You're both perfect distance from the mic. So let me start with Officer Miller. So you've been running the police union since 2015.
That's correct.
And you've been an officer, I think 20 years, right?
Yes, sir.
Which is how long you need to fully vest in the pension to retire. And we're seeing all these officers leave. What made you decide to leave now, right in the middle of a term as police union president?
I just think the opportunity was right.
Let's get a little closer.
The opportunity was right to leave.
Well,
it was a hard decision.
Mm-hmm.
I had to think about it a while. So back in November, I was looking at a couple of advertisements for job opportunities. And so I just started putting feelers out. And then there was actually one job that I probably would have been gone in December. So I decided to hold off a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. And so is this your second term as union president?
Yes, sir.
They're 2-year terms, right?
Yes, sir.
And you don't have to call me sir, by the way.
Well,
I appreciate it.
It's respectful.
If you want, yeah, I appreciate that. So why did you feel like you had enough? I mean, it's a hard job being a cop. I'm guessing it's a harder job being union president because people's upset all the time.
Well,
did you like being union president? Was it enough?
It was fun, yes. But putting in 20 years in New Haven, it's like putting in 35, 40 years, altogether.
And is that because more happens in New Haven for an officer?
A lot more action, a lot more dealing with the public, a lot more dealing with the political issues that are going on in this town, city.
Mm-hmm. And so you did that. Now, in the past, the police union presidency was a dynasty. Lou Cavalier, I think a couple decades, ran that police union. Then his son, who had a little bit of a different style.
Mm-hmm.
We reporters loved those guys because every time we had a story, we'd call them up, and they would love to just blast. They would love to do, controversial quotes. They loved the attention. They were fun. And then Craig Miller comes in. His last name is not Cavalier. And we could never get a good quote out of you. You're never calling attention to yourself. You are calling attention to issues involving officers. Like when people had holes in the bottom of their police cruisers and stuff falling apart, you would say, let's do something about it. But you kind of would defer to making you the center of attention. Was that deliberate, or is that just what kind of guy you are? Did you think a different union in in the 21st century, there was a need for a different union management style? I was
just more reserved. As far as the Cavaliers, they were more swagger with their wording. They just know how to say things properly. I always like to try to delegate things a different way. And deal with a little bit more, one-on-one.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I meant by that, Craig, partly was to not make it personal, but to talk about whether being a job of a union president might have changed. How you get things done, how the public reacts to stuff, what members are looking for. Do you think it was just different personal styles?
It's also not only that. It depends on who the administration you're dealing with, too.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the time when I took over, we had a previous chief, which was a battle.
You mean fighting with Dean Esserman all the time?
Yeah, I didn't want to mention his name.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
See, that's what I mean about you. Like, they'd be putting his name out 20 times before they even get in the first minute. And has that changed with Anthony Campbell?
Pretty much. We handle things a different way, more respectfully, and sometimes we get things done, sometimes we don't. But we don't make it public that we're arguing over things.
And you're leaving at a time when the police union does not have a contract. What's it been? 2 years? 3 years?
We're going on 3 years.
And so they're working on the old conditions, and officers are understandably concerned because the city says we don't have any money left, and we gave you a generous contract because there was no other way to keep cops because they risk their lives, so they got a little easier chance to retire a little younger, and if they make it through. But now they're saying we can't afford that anymore. We already had one concession where newer officers have to wait 25 years to be fully vested, and I guess everyone's worried now that health care and retirement benefits are going to change now, right? And is that about family coverage when you retire?
Well, with the new guys, the previous contract took some family coverage away from the current officers, which didn't help. So, I mean, I really can't discuss much that's going on.
No, I can't do specifics because it's not negotiations anymore, right? Isn't it in arbitration?
Oh, no, we're in arbitration. Yes, sir.
So now, and this contracts and arbitration, and what I'm hearing from so many cops is, we believe the new contract is really going to hurt us. And not only have a lot of people left already for fear of that, but that once the new contract hits, you're going to see even more. I mean, we're down to like 380 cops from a budget position of 490, and I think he used to have 430 filled or something. They've been leaving every week, and now they're saying a lot more are going to leave if the new contract takes away more, because isn't there a fear that there's going to be even more family coverage at risk with the pensions?
Right. My whole problem is this, is that the whole time you had administrators, city officials claiming that they need to pay the police here. They want city residents, but they want to attract city residents, but in the meantime, they want to slash those benefits for the city residents.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that kind of hurts. How are you going to attract people to come here if you just keep taking things away from them?
Uh-huh.
They're using this. I've said it years ago. They're just using New Haven as a training ground to go to other places, and it's been happening.
Yeah, I mean, and they say now that the chiefs of suburban departments come to the graduation for new cops to pick out who they're gonna steal.
They're already sometimes watching them when they're in academies.
Yeah, unbelievable. So, but you're not seeing it through. Once it gets to arbitration, does it matter as much how the union executive committee works? Is it all in the hand of an arbitrator?
It's all in the hands of the attorneys. They're battling amongst each other of contract talks, previous contract talks. We get to a point where the negotiating committee puts all their proposals up. Then now we're in arbitration. So you have the city attorney, you have the union attorney. Those are the ones that are having all the discussions.
That's Marshall Seeger, right?
Oh, no. We have Steve McElhaney.
Okay.
He handles our CBA.
Okay, now here's something I know absolutely nothing about, what I'm completely confused
That's hard
about.
for me to believe.
Oh, Craig, believe me. And we just sound like we know stuff from reporters. You guys actually do stuff. You save people's lives. You negotiate contracts. We just mouth off about it. But maybe you can help me this out, Florencio, as well. So when I look at arbitration, here's how I understand it from the outside. You guys negotiate with the city. You both try your best to come to a deal. You negotiate for a long time. And at the end, like in a situation like this, where the city knows they have a problem, the cops are leaving, but they also feel they have no money. You feel like, you can't take away so much from your officers. So you hit an impasse, it goes to arbitration, the state gets a panel to come see who's right. Here's the part I don't get. It takes months and months and months. I can't figure out, why does it take so long? What happens?
I think the process itself, it's very long and tedious. And like Craig said earlier, like both sides, the lawyers for the city, lawyers on our behalf, it becomes arguments over
If you don't mind,
what cities need, what the city wants, and what the police union needs.
But I mean, when Robert Mueller has this incredibly complicated case about Russia and Donald Trump, right? And they want to argue a motion about whether we can give information out to this company. That's complicated. The lawyers make their best case in front of a judge, and that's a day.
Right.
And then you get the ruling. Why does it take months and months? What kind of stuff happens over a whole long period of months with arbitrators?
I think with the way arbitration works, both sides basically present to the panel arbitrators. In this case, there's 3. They take all the information that both sides present, and then they get a particular time to mull over all that information.
But does it happen on many occasions? Like, haven't there been a lot of sessions with arbitrators? And I'm really not trying to trick you into telling me what is being discussed. I understand you can't tell me the specifics of the proposals. I'm just trying to figure out what happens. I'm ignorant, come from the outside. If Robert Mueller goes in there one day with the government of Russia and the Trump administration, and they're arguing over this complicated stuff for 5 hours, and then the argument's done,
right,
and the judges maybe take a few weeks on the motion, what is happening in session after session?
Well, how could you compare us to Robert Mueller? He's been going on for how many years now? He's going on for many years now, so we're in the same situation. But my point is this, is like Florencio said, is that, we all put our proposals in, and then it's like item by item, they start arguing over things. And then when you have the city who comes in and brings a binder that's like 24 inches thick with all New Haven independent articles in there, I might add.
Oh, good. I'm glad someone's
reading. Shout out to you.
And whose side does that help, you or them?
Well, they're using that against us, and then we're using...
Are they using the articles that we say they're mismanaging money? So they say, look, we have no money, we're mismanaging?
Well, I to tell you the truth, it's so thick, but the thing is there's some articles that are in there which they use, and they're, towards us, and then we reverse and say, wait a minute, now we reversing it back to them.
So you're still
it's-
arguing merits. You're going back
yeah,
and
we're still
forth.
going over.
And have there been a
of
lot of sessions? Is it every week you spend 5 hours with these guys?
Well, don't forget we had a holiday going on. During Christmas time.
Right.
So we had a current break there, and then we had people using vacation time. But we've had maybe about 2 a month, and maybe 3. Just this past month, we had one on a Monday and a Wednesday. So it's whenever it's convenient because they're doing arbitration cases with other towns also.
and how many
So-
months has it been? I think it was summer, right?
We started in November.
In November?
Maybe in November.
I think we started softly in November, presenting everything, and it's up until now. So,
And how any sense how long do your lawyers tell you how long they'll take?
would you like me to lie to you?
Yeah.
God, no.
No, don't lie.
No, that's what everybody always asks me, and I tell them, I said, listen, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it's going to end, by June, because we can't predict that.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Everyone's whenever I run into an officer, they all say it's where everyone's getting ready to jump ship.
And it's very discouraging for all the members, because they hear about cases going on in other towns, but Bridgeport police had their contract vote, and they shot it down. So everyone says, oh, they went to their vote, but the whole problem is they're still in arbitration too, just like us, for going on 3 years.
Yeah, and city's in a tough spot. And I guess I have to admit, and again, I don't know as much as from the outside. From the outside, I am completely sympathetic to both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I'm completely sympathetic to cops to say I'm putting my life at risk for much less money and for fewer benefits than I had in a tougher city than I can go elsewhere. And I'm totally sympathetic to a city that says people have a revolt every time you said they're going to raise their taxes. The state cuts our money. How are we going to do it? And later in the show, I'm going to bring up some stuff John Valeka has said, where he thought, a former police chief, where he thought he has some solutions out of this mess. And it's a Florencio rather than Florencio. I'm sorry if I mispronounced.
Florencio.
Florencio.
Yep, you got it.
And so why you're the executive president, right?
I'm the vice president currently.
And when do you become the president?
When
I leave
And when do you leave, Craig?
soon.
Well, you put in your retirement papers.
Yes, I did, sir.
And so when does that take effect?
Soon.
I mean, there's the date on
This
it, man.
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yes.
So does that mean you also on the same day are no longer the president of the union?
That's correct. Yeah.
So at that point, is it just automatic the executive vice president ascends, or is there a new election?
Well, according to our bylaws, he would be the next, according to the executive board. Make
It's
a
sort of
decision.
like you're like Mike Pence. You're like next in line. You come up.
Right, and then the
Somebody
executive board gets together and they decide on everything.
Oh, so do they still have to ratify that, or is it just automatic?
It's more or less automatic. It's just the executive board has a discussion, and we vote amongst ourselves of who wants to be the replacement.
And when is the next? So it's not clear that you're the next president. You're just likely the next president.
He's
Yeah.
going to be taking over.
I'm going to be taking over.
Or I thought you said it still has to.
No, they already. What the process is this: I'm leaving. So
Mhm.
what happens is the executive board gets together, and they would agree that he's going to be the next person in line by a vote amongst the executive board.
But can they vote no?
Well, there was one it's by majority. So there's 6 of them, and 5-1
But what I mean?
that he would take over.
Okay. Oh, they already did the vote.
Yes,
Oh, they did the vote.
right.
Yes.
5-1 vote. Who voted no?
One that wanted his spot, I believe.
So by a
Yeah.
5-1 vote, the executive board said you. And how long does the term go to?
So I would just finish out his term, which is up until May
May.
of this year.
Oh, okay. That's
and
not
then that's
very
when the
long.
new elections.
That's when the new elections occur.
And that's sort of like in Congress last year. We had all these people running for just a few months. They had to go through it all over again. So first year, how many years you been involved in the union? You were like Craig. You worked your way up because I know Craig used to be vice president. All that.
So this May would be 4 years.
Mhm.
2 years as vice president come this May.
And how many years you been an officer?
12 years.
Okay. And what made you get involved in Union work? Why did you think it was important to be involved in a police union?
I personally, for me, I thought that any little differences that I thought was happening with previous union leadership or issues that were arising in the contract, instead of complaining about it, I wanted to be someone on the forefront to try to actually change it.
And what were you specifically concerned about? What
Just,
did you want to change?
just the general things that were that everyone's looking for: wage increases, trying to stop the slashes in benefits,
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature.
And our average cop here makes what, around 40, in the 40s here?
To start
Or start or mid-career?
off as 44,000.
44,000, yes.
And what's the top?
68.
for just an officer or other?
For
positions?
patrol officer, top step for patrol officer.
And then in other, what's the comparison? Anthony Campbell always says it's much higher in other places. What would be a comparison?
Some other places, either they start you off at 50 something plus, some start at 60, and
Mhm.
they max out. Kyle, you know the
I
numbers.
mean, surrounding anywhere from 80 to, you see new contracts coming out to 90,000
In the suburbs,
in the suburbs.
where like you look for cats and trees.
Well, not only the suburbs.
Not only suburbs,
Oh,
but
he-
also, I mean,
Stanford. Well, you can't
Stanford.
compare Stanford.
I mean,
Yeah. I hear you. They got more money in Stanford.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Those are big buildings.
Well,
So
they-
that's
they-
a big, and
it's-
also isn't the
it's-
healthcare
hold on,
different?
well, we have some big buildings in New
It
Haven
is.
now.
It is funny you say that though, because they threw out one town, and I laughed because it was Greenwich, And, I mean, and I laughed about it. I'm like, how could you compare? They're making so much money, so
Yeah.
but it all varies.
And we're talking about the transition team here. The head of the New Haven Police Union, Craig Miller, and the next upcoming, by a vote of 5-1, pretty good margin, for the next union president, Florencio Cotto, here on Dateline New Haven, your home for Community Radio 103.5 FM, live stream, newhavenindependent.org at WNHH. So it's also, benefits are different, right? I mean, how are the health care and retirement benefits different in those other towns? Is it still 20 years out? Do you get more family coverage in the other towns?
Most of them all vary. Same thing with the years of service. Some are still 20. Some are also 25. But, the big things are wages.
I thought it was also health care.
Well, healthcare as well, yes.
How does that differ? Like when you retire here, is your whole family covered, or was one of the changes in the last contract that you had to start paying more for family members' health care when you retire?
I believe you had to do a, what was it, Craig, 100% buy-up or something to that effect?
What does that mean?
Meaning if you wanted to have a spouse covered,
You got to pay for it.
you have to pay for it.
In the past, you hadn't.
Correct.
And in the suburbs, do you have to pay for spouses' coverage on retirement?
Again, certain places, they all vary, but yes.
And while you're a cop and still working, do you still have to pay for your spouse's coverage?
Correct.
Okay. And is that a change too?
Well, it's, you pay the premium. I mean, if that's what you're...
No, but it's something changed in the last contract about spousal coverage?
Not when you're.
Okay.
Not when
in the
you're
bargaining.
active, no.
Not
I
when
gotta
you're
say, one person, people always complain about the benefits that people get in the public sector. Like, I wish I had that. And I feel very differently about that because I do wish I had a pension, but I don't think the answer is to not give other people pensions. I think the answer is to have everyone get a pension. Like, it used to be that public sector unions were setting a standard for what should happen in the private sector. And then as they got rid of unions in the private sector, they got rid of benefits. And now they kind of get everyday people to get mad at the people who get those benefits as though they're living high on the hog, rather than the people who run big companies who are making more profit because they're not paying those benefits. But that's a very political view on my point. Is that something you guys share when you look at the national picture? Are you sympathetic to the teachers in LA who went on strike and even in the red states? Or do you feel that people who, like in the whole Trump thing, that they're getting the right anger, the wrong anger? Do you see what's happening with New Haven police is fitting into any kind of national picture about? Because I gave you a very biased view from my end. Do you see it, in your view, fitting in any kind of national picture?
I tell you the truth, I really don't look. When you compare to teachers, teachers are very respectful people. I mean, that's people we looked up to as we were growing up, and for them to go, I think it's unfair the way they're being treated. And like you said, the trend's coming our way.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing is it's hard to talk on that because it's two different professions you're talking about.
Okay. Hey, Craig Miller, let me ask you, did you grow up in Waterbury?
Yes.
And what made you want to be a cop? Did you always want to be a cop? Was your uncle
yeah.
a cop? I mean, how did that happen?
I've always just wanted to be a police officer.
Why? I mean, like, were your parents involved in the
No,
field?
no, it's just
Was it from watching TV?
It's actually a personal thing. I mean, things that I've seen in the past and dealt with. It's just
What do you mean?
it's just growing up in a bad area.
What part of Waterbury did you grow up in?
Willow Street area.
So was there a lot of crime there? I'm not familiar with Waterbury.
It's we grew up in South Main Street area when I was younger. That's almost like a Fairhaven type aspect.
And what did your parents do for a living?
Oh, my father was a painter, and my mom just she was like at home and stuff. So,
Uh-huh. And so when you see crime in the neighborhood, you say you like what the cops were doing? I mean, what? Because different things inspire kids. John Alston liked to ride on fire trucks when he was 4 years old.
No, when I was in third, second grade, I remember a police officer came to our school and we were talking to him, and he read us like books and everything, and ever since then I just had a thing for police officers.
And did you become
And-
a cop as soon as
and-
you? I'm sorry.
Well, and as I got older, I became good friends with Walter Williams, who was a Waterbury cop who was murdered.
Oh my God.
Years ago, I was really good friends with him, and
Was he your age or?
No, he was older than me.
And how'd you know him?
We actually rented an apartment from him, and he used to always talk to me and tell me, you know what, you should be a police officer. You should be a police officer, you know. And I told him, I said, oh yeah, I've always liked it, but I never did it because at the time I was working at Sikorsky Aircraft.
How old were you?
Oh, I was 21.
And were you living with your parents still, or you were?
Yes, I was living with my mom. My father passed away when I was younger.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
So you're working at Sikorsky Aircraft. What were you doing?
I worked in various areas. I used to work on top deck, and then I
What does
worked
that
in,
mean? Like, what'd you do?
put in part assembly.
So you worked in the assembly line.
Yeah. And then after that, I worked over in another area where the blade shop was.
So you're 21. You're living on the south end of Waterbury. You're living with your mom. You're working assembly line, but you'd always, since a kid, wanted to be a cop. And your landlord is Walter Williams. He says you should be a cop. You should be a police officer. And you said I always wanted to, but you're not sure.
Right.
Did he get killed before you decided to become a cop?
It was in my mind, but once that happened, that's when I started saying to myself, I got to learn how to do it, and start pursuing that matter. So.
Okay, so there's an obvious question on that, Craig.
Yeah.
The person who's telling you to be a cop gets killed, so that makes you want to be a cop?
Yeah.
No, it's interesting.
Well, yeah.
Well, tell me what's going through your mind.
Well,
Because some people would say, "Oh my God, he wants me to be a cop, but he got killed. I'm going to stay on the assembly line."
yeah. No, it's just I respected him a lot. He used to, you know, he was a nice person that you would be able to talk to. You know, he was very community orientated.
Mhm.
He reached out to like a lot of people in the community liked him.
So
And-
did you feel like, okay, he got killed, but he did something that was really good that I'd like to do too because he did it? It was a way of sometimes I don't put words in your mouth. It was a way of showing respect of what his life was about.
And that's what I was going to lead up to. So when that happened, I remember going to his funeral, and after that, I said, you know what? He was probably saying something to me, and I just looked at it and said, you know, I might just start pursuing that goal and just do what's right.
And it was after the funeral.
Around that time, and then when I became a police officer, the first thing I did is when I went down to D.C., I went to the memorial and I looked for his name, and I basically, you know, made sure I took a picture of it.
And you found it.
Yes, I did.
Was that always New Haven your first job
It's what?
as a cop?
Yes.
And how come it was the New Haven department? Was just lucky that's where they're hiring? Or?
It's just, yeah. You know, wherever you go.
And was it worth it? Like when you think about all your years as a patrol officer, did you feel you lived up to what Walter Williams was about? Or
You know what? It's just.
were you
it's
helping people as a cop? Was it worth it?
Was I helping people? Yeah, I believe I have. I mean, I used to get involved with a lot of school activities, drug enforcement for youth, or drug education for youth. I'm sorry. You know, I used to go to the schools and talk to the kids myself.
About is this like a DARE thing?
Oh, it was similar to that, yes. And then they had the 2-week program where you would go away to, at the time was Camp Roland, and you'd be with all the kids. It was like a boot camp type of deal for 2 weeks, which was pretty fun.
And so you kind of saw the community service side. I noticed over the years, just looking through our clips, you were hit by a driver in a cruiser in August 2007. How bad were you hurt in that one?
I hurt my neck and my lower back.
You were in your car and someone was just like speeding or something. They fled the scene.
Yeah, actually, I was going through an intersection and my light was green. Actually, it was flickering. As I was going through, there was another person in line, and they waved me through. And as I went through, another car came passing that person, just T-boned.
Went around him.
Yeah, and usually I had a partner in my vehicle, and if he was there, they probably said he probably would have got killed.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it was
Wow.
that was tough.
Whoa. But you just hurt your neck. But
I hurt my neck and my back.
usually a partner. Wow. What street was that?
Lombard and James.
That's a couple blocks from where I used to live. They do drive crazy there.
Yeah, this car came. I saw it last minute, and it was too late.
Wow. And did they ever find the guy? Because he got out of
Yes.
the car and went on foot.
Yeah, they got.
You also worked in the street interdiction unit.
Yes.
There's something I want to ask both of you. So I always wondered, when you're a cop, so you both have decided to spend a lot of time working on union business, which means that's on top of your job. But you haven't tried to rise as a detective or a sergeant. And I find when you look at a school or a news organization or police force, there's this pressure that if you're good at what you do, you're supposed to always try to get the higher level job. And that sometimes can hurt the public because sometimes people are just really great at being a teacher and a reporter, a cop on the beat. And it's not that I wonder if departments need to find ways to give you as many rewards for staying on the beat job. I mean, what do you think about that, Florencio?
I mean, some people inspire to move up the rank. Some people are just great being the rank of patrol officer.
Do you get as much, not glory, but as much feedback and support if you don't want to take tests to get a different job and manage people or different kind of cases, but just want to be really good for 20 years at patrolling a beat?
Well, I mean,
are there enough rewards in it?
I believe so. I still have the rank of officer, and I don't.
I remember Paul Bickey, the difference he made. Just remember he was a guy who never got glory or anything, but he was such a fantastic.
There were several
beat
like
cop.
Such a great beat
there
cop.
There are a lot of people like that.
He was one of my field training officers, and
so many great teachers don't end up not being good at sitting behind a desk in an office and directing people, and then you lose them in the classroom. And some people are really good at those other skills.
Right.
Yeah. So what made you want to be a cop? Where did you grow up, Florencio?
So I grew up in this great city, Westville section.
What part?
Off of like Emerson Street.
Mm-hmm.
Lived there for a while.
Live now. Yeah.
Lived there for a while. But born and raised.
And what made you want to be a cop? Like, is that the first thing you did out of school?
Yeah, my uncle was actually a New Haven police.
He was the one who was like worked under Cisco, right? Cisco Ortiz, wasn't he like his right-hand guy?
Correct.
Because often you hear, and that's what was different about Craig, was his landlord. You often hear about someone had uncles, more often than father for some reason. I always hear uncle.
Yeah, it's always an uncle, right?
There's always an uncle. And so when did he retire?
Oh, boy. He probably retired in 2005 or 6.
So you were already on the force, or you're just starting?
I was just starting out.
And what was his first name again?
Samuel.
Yes, right. I remember him. Are you also related to Jamel Cotto, who's on the board of Ed?
I am.
I guess Cotto's not that. What's his relationship to you?
He's my cousin.
Cousin, okay. So when did you decide, based on your uncle, that you wanted to be a cop?
At a young age. He
like how young?
Probably when he used to come to my school in uniform to pick me up after he got off his shift.
What school?
Oh, jeez. This was so long ago. This was like an elementary school.
What elementary schools you go to?
I went to this was like more like a what do you call it? Like a daycare, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's how long ago. I couldn't tell you the daycare name of it.
After daycare, okay.
Yeah.
And at that early, so you're not even 5 yet.
Yeah.
You see my uncle's there in the uniform, I want to be like him.
That was it.
That's so interesting. You never lost that goal.
And it stuck in me, and this was the only place I wanted to be a cop.
So where you been stationed as an officer? You both started with walking beats, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And where did you start walking?
Started walking in Fairhaven.
Mm-hmm.
Walked the Fairhaven beat for a few years until you gradually.
And you were in Fairhaven too, Craig, right?
I started off in New Hallville,
okay.
Winchester Avenue.
All right. Is there a day you'll never forget on the beat?
Yeah, usually
I'm going to ask you that too, Craig.
Usually when some instances where involve children, they usually stick with you.
Meaning something bad happens to a kid.
Yeah, something bad happened. And,
sounds like you don't want to talk about specific.
Yeah, I'd rather not, but
Okay.
things with children mostly is what really stuck with me.
How about you, Craig? Is there a day you'll never forget?
Many.
Pick one.
There's many.
Okay, guys, that's so
it's just working out in certain areas. You see a lot of things. Sometimes you just don't really want to discuss them. There's always good things I like to talk about.
Name one.
People would like it. Well, I had one time where I was on Winchester Avenue and a bunch of pigeons pooped on me.
Really? When was that?
I was standing on the corner of Winchester Star, me and my partner, and we started walking. He goes, you got to take your jacket off. I said, why? What happened? He goes, that building we're standing under. I took it off. I said, wait, we're standing next together. Why did they only hit me?
What'd he say?
He goes, I don't know. Maybe you need the luck. But no, there's a couple of situations where sometimes, which was really good, where we'd be walking the beat, and sometimes you stand in front of a house and a parent will come out and talk to you, and they say they appreciate you being there. That means a lot. That means a lot.
Can you think of a day, Florencio, where you said you came home and said, this is why I do it. I just made a difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like, the kids that you meet.
You ever get pooped on
during
like
that? Never been pooped on.
Okay. Which is sort of a
I've stepped in
metaphor
poop, though.
sometimes.
I've stepped in
Okay.
poop. Not
It's
poop
a
out.
little bit of a metaphor for what it's like to be a cop sometimes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
People poop on you, but in the end, you kind of like brush it off. And you
Birds
make
don't
the
like us neither.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't like us.
But tell me about a day where you made a difference. We went home and said, this is why I do it.
I remember walking the beat when I first became a patrol officer and seeing a kid, and he used to be the same kid in the same area, and then seeing him 10 years later and him remembering me, and I'm like, hey, kind of let me know who you are, and he told me who he was, and I'm the kid that was around where he used to always like hand us like little lollipops or something like that, and just things like that. And he was like, and then we started having a conversation, how you doing? And he's like, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm gonna be graduating high school soon and things like that, and going off to college. And he was like, oh, you just because they always had he said that he had always had this thing in his mind that cops were bad, right? And but that I was never the bad one.
And
so
like
to
right
speak.
now, right or wrong, cops feel in this country that people think they're bad for being cops, right? I would argue that's not what most people think, but I would also argue that's what you normally read about, and that there's some loud voices who
Right.
are very negative toward cops. I just, again, gave you my bias. I want to hear your bias. How does it feel after 20 years on the beat, Craig Miller, after 12 years on the beat, Florencio Cotto? Has it changed? You talked about the cases where they appreciate you. Do you feel there's been a change in how people perceive the cops, and did it affect how you felt on the beat?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. For me, it can be disheartening seeing certain things portrayed about my profession, but it never swayed me either way.
But do you feel like people in New Haven mostly appreciate you?
I would hope so.
Yeah. I mean, I think so too, but some officers have told me they feel like everyone's against cops now.
I mean, I definitely know that that's a focal point that's being. I mean, at least for if that how that person feels is being portrayed
And there's a second
as.
factor. I mean, there is coverage of when there have been high-profile police shootings. Sometimes the police have been wrong, sometimes they've been right, but there are
Right.
protests. But there's also been what's happening in society at large, not just with cops. We're all being watched now more. Our actions can become viral on YouTube. There's public demands to judge how we do our job. A lot more people weigh in on how you do because of social media. Everybody's job gets a little tougher in that case, and who's more on the front line than a cop who's out in public and sometimes needs to arrest people. Craig's shaking his head, but I mean,
Right.
all right, so you're not
I'm
going
gonna
there.
agree, yeah.
Okay, so let's think about what's going next with both. We're talking to both Florencio Cotto and Craig Miller, the transition team here at the New Haven Police Union. First of all, the police union, what's the official name these days? 'Cause I know you changed it a few years ago.
It's Elm City Local. We're part of CACP, Connecticut Alliance of City Police.
CACP?
Yes.
And AMC Local, is there a number?
It's just us. We're called the Elm City Local. Waterbury's
Police
called
Union?
the Brass City Local.
The Elm City Local.
New Haven Police Union. Yep.
And that's because you used to be part of a statewide union.
Yes.
And then there was a feeling among some members they were kind of playing funny money around with your money and not really representing you, and you weren't getting anything firm. There was a move to disaffiliate. How many years ago was that?
It was in 2014.
2014. So that was before you took over, Craig.
I was the vice president, and I'm the one that actually reached out to the members to make this transition and change the petition to get out away from our previous parent.
Was
union.
that part of a larger set of changes you were seeking? I mean, you kind of were a change guy, right? You didn't campaign in a personal way saying someone's no good or someone's good. But there was a change election. I mean, you won by a pretty good margin there. And what is it that people want to change in the union, and has it changed?
It wasn't more or less whether they liked the other person or not.
Right, it
was
wasn't
just the point
personal,
is-
it was how it's
no,
run.
No, he
Good guy.
Oh, yeah, tremendous. Great attitude, comes from a great family, and I had a lot of respect for the whole family and him. And the whole thing is it was like with me right now. If it turns out that there was an election going on and I was ready to leave, looking to leave, I would have never tried running again. But this came last, within the past few months.
But I mean, what did you want changing? Did you want a tougher line with the city, less compromise? What did people want?
I just, they just wanted someone that's going to stand up and speak for everyone, which.
Did they feel it was too much of an insider union? The older members had more representation or something?
We never really sat down and discussed that.
Because what's tough for a union president is you have different groups of members, right? And you're
Yes.
going to face this now, Florencio, right? People been there a long time. They want to make sure what they were promised is kept. there's always going to be negotiation, right? So, like, if there's a limited amount of money, sometimes you protect the older members because what they promised. And as in the last contract, the younger members, as everywhere else in the United States, are not going to get the same benefits. But then the younger members feel like, wait, we have a lot of young people in this force now. Don't you want to keep us and don't we count too, right?
Right.
So how are you going to navigate that?
It's
What's going to be your strategy as union president?
that's gonna have to be seen.
I mean, I just asked you a question that faces every president of every local union.
Yeah.
But what are you hoping to do as president?
I'm honestly, Craig was a great teacher. I'm just looking to build on what he was doing.
What did he teach you?
When Paul Bass calls you, pick up the phone.
Don't leave them hanging.
Yeah.
Actually, I never had any complaints with you or your predecessors.
Or shoot them a text saying, I can't talk to you, I'll get back to you later.
But in honesty, what's something you learned from Craig?
No matter what, you're here for all. You're here for all your members.
Mhm.
You know, whether they like you or they don't like you. You know, or whether they agree with you or they don't. You're here for all, and that's
tough.
Yeah. It's
And do
what it's
you have
about.
to listen a lot? Is part of your job just like letting people vent and hearing what they have to say? Like, do you say how many hours a week, for instance? How often, when you're union president, you don't walk a beat during that time, right?
You're detached from duty, yes.
But do you do overtime sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah.
But does that mean that you're in your office and that door needs to be open? Because every time I've been there, people just walk in and complain, which they're supposed to,
Come on,
right?
damn.
No, but I mean, like, tell you what's going on that they're not happy
You're right.
about.
You know, and your phone's on 24/7, even on the weekends. I mean, I've received phone calls at 1 o'clock at night.
Can you turn off the phone?
No,
No.
Why
that's
not?
not my. No.
Why not?
Because
turn off my phone.
Because you're responsible for the members to answer to them. You
At
know?
1 in the
And
morning?
yes.
Can't wait till
Well,
5?
that's what I know. That's the way I feel.
What did they call you at 1 a.m.?
Excuse me.
What were they calling about at 1 a.m.?
There are many issues. You know, they might have an issue with a supervisor. They might have an issue with an incident.
Like at that moment, so they needed some representation
Sometimes,
at the moment?
yes.
Oh, that's
And then-
interesting.
Yeah. If there's not a union rep available, and sometimes you might have a use of force situation where you might be called and you have to get dressed and go.
Oh. So you rush to the scenes of use of force?
Yes.
So are you going to, Fletcher, are you going to keep your phone on at 1 a.m.?
It's on now.
Yeah, but I mean, like, because I don't think I could have a job like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
Yeah.
say, well, we're just going to have to miss the biggest story you ever had because, like, my brain, I need the break.
I mean, policing's 24/7,
Mm-hmm.
365, and you know,
Even when I was on a cruise, I would get emails, and I always used to respond back.
yeah.
You know, I'm serious. I mean, it's just the way I've worked.
Uh-huh. And you said you're going to continue that.
I
That's
will.
the-
Yes.
So let me ask you, Craig, you're going to start a new career as a patrolman in North Branford. When does that start?
So soon.
Man, you got to be
I
more
ju-
specific. See,
I know,
now
I
you're
just-
hearing, people are now hearing what it's like to interview Craig Miller. But like in a week, in a month?
It's soon. Put it that way. I just didn't want to take a break
Why not?
because I like being busy. I like
Uh-huh.
being active.
Why North
And-
Branford? And why are so many New Haven cops wanting to go to North Branford? I feel like we're going to have more New Haven cops sort of at
Wait,
different
they,
levels.
they didn't go. They all went to Hamden.
That's Hampton, too. Yeah,
They went to
the younger
Hamden
ones went to
and
Hampton.
North Haven, not North Branford. They all
Okay,
went. The
but
majority.
you might
went
be
to-
having a New Haven chief, though, in North Branford.
Excuse me.
Your next chief in North Branford, you never know.
Oh,
right?
I don't. I'm not.
But,
gonna
but in
talk
any
about
case, okay, but what about North Branford? What's it going to be like going to such a different community?
that.
Do you live in North Branford? No, I forget. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Maybe. I'm sorry. You don't
I,
have to.
I usually don't.
Oh, you know, say, well, anyway, what's it going to be? What's North Branford like?
It's a great town. It's a great little town.
I've spent very little time there. Route 80 goes through there, right?
Yes. It's a great little town.
Rural?
It's a great little town. It's low key. Great people that live there.
And why do you want to be a cop there?
Why do I want to be? Because it's a town that I live in. I think I can contribute a little bit to help out.
And how long do you see yourself being an officer?
There, I can't answer that question.
Because I guess
I
we
mean-
were talking earlier about, inspired by Walter Williams,
Mhm.
how some people, it's great to be a patrol officer your whole life. I mean, are you looking
love
there
it.
to rise, or are you looking to be a patrol
No,
officer?
that's what everyone always asks me. How come you never moved up the ranks? I like being out in the street. I like being
Mhm.
involved with the community. I like being involved with the people.
Uh-huh.
I like being involved with other officers. When the other officers came on, I liked working with them. I liked being together. When you move up the ranks.
Become a suit.
Yeah, no. There's some great sergeants, and there's some that still work like patrolmen, and then there's others that are going to move up to the next rank.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect all of them for what they do. They made the decision to move up the ranks, and some of us decided not to. And I know a lot of.
So you're a
officers,
people guy, and you like being on the street.
There's a lot of retired officers.
And that's what I was saying about like reporters and teachers. Some of them have such a gift for doing the most important on the ground work that you really don't want them kicked upstairs.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if there are ways to help officers get some other rewards for staying on the street. Like with teachers, they sometimes in some places give them a little extra money to spend extra time mentoring. I know you could be a field training officer. Have you been an FTO?
I have.
Yeah, so that's one way. Are there kind of bonuses or ways you use your expertise in the street to inspire other people, but keeping you on the street? Or even little things like, could you have more recognition of Officer of the Week, or describe the everyday thing people do? I mean, do you think there's enough attention paid to the good work patrol officers do?
I don't want to answer that question.
Okay. But anyway, I do wish you luck.
Thank you, sir.
It has been a real honor to know you in New Haven. I think you've done a great job over the years here, Craig Miller, and a good job with the police union. Always respected everything you did. I think North Branford's lucky to get you.
And I would like to say thank you to Bass Radio
for
having us here.
Best of luck stepping into Craig's shoes.
Thank you very much.
We need a strong union movement in the city, and I wish you luck in continuing that tradition.
Thank you.
And thanks for sharing your stories, too. Any last words you want people to know about the New Haven Police Union or anything?
And the only thing is just for more people to help support us.
How would they do that?
Just get involved and speak to the mayor and say, listen, these guys are going through a hard transition of getting a contract or agreeing to a contract. Please support them and get them something good so we can get this.
Okay, one answer. I forgot to ask you John Valeka's answer.
Oh.
He says we don't need walking beats. That a good cop will get out and walk, and a bad cop, when he's walking, won't walk. He'll just hide. And that if you had a lot fewer officers, you could pay them a lot better. And that would solve the problem of limited money. Any thoughts?
Wow. I mean, I walked for 2.5 years, and I didn't hide.
Right, no, he's not saying they hide. They're saying that you don't have to have so many officers on foot, and that would have us have fewer officers. Tony Harp says that would be too dangerous. That's what's keeping our crime rate so low, because New Haven Police have done a great job keeping crime low beyond the trends.
When I came on, there was a certain amount of walking beats, and I agree with retired Assistant Chief Valeka, what he's saying, that there are too many. Sometimes you have to spread it out the proper way.
Would that enable us to have a smaller force and then find that money to pay you better?
It can, but also, I mean, it could raise safety concerns. I mean, on that end.
Or what about some of the special units? He's saying you could have a smaller force. We could have fewer special divisions. Any thoughts on that?
Well, see, he would know about the management style.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why he was where he was. I mean, we could sit here all day and say, let's make us all walking beats, but it ain't going to work.
That was an awesome answer. You see, you could have talked more.
Yeah, I could have. I really appreciate everything every opportunity you gave me to talk here. And sometimes when you call me up, you respected the decisions of me not commenting on things.
Yeah,
I just want to say thank you.
Yes, thank you right back, Craig Miller.
And just, support our police.
All right.
Thank you.
We always support the police.
Thank you.
And thank you very much to our guest today, Craig Miller and Franciscato. Thanks for listening, everybody. We're going to take it out, the Afro-Semitic Experience, performing I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free from the group CD, A Plea for Peace. Now, we know what it's like to be free. We just got to remember to book our flight. Fly free with us all day and all night long here at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.